Well, 400 years before Christ was born, Malachi wrote. Interesting, because if any of the people of Malachi's day were alive today, they would say incredible. And it is incredible. Because here we are 400 years before Christ, and then we have a 400-year silence. No word from God. But listen to what Malachi said in chapter 2, verse 17. You've wearied the Lord. And they asked, how have we wearied the Lord? And he said, because you say that those that do evil are good. And where is the justice of the Lord? A complaint and certainly a moral misguidance. But what's more incredible is chapter 3. Because, you see, it tells us how God sees things. Not day by day like we do. Not even during a lifetime like we do. But it's as if he could see across the peaks in the valleys. And here he talks to us about seeing across two peaks. Not only the 400 silent years, but first in chapter 3 verse 1 he talks about a messenger coming, probably John the Baptist. Then he talks about he, Jesus, coming into his temple, which Jesus did, and bringing a new covenant, which he did, a covenant of grace. Now that's really interesting because as Malachi is closing out, he's talking about where is the justice. And certainly when grace came in, that's not just. But God sees these peaks and he sees this justice coming in. And we've been living in this age of grace, this wonderful age of grace, for about 2,000 years. And in Malachi chapter 3, we see another peak. Just in one verse, we move from one peak to another. And this is the second coming of Christ. I don't know how many years go between. We know 2,000 for sure, but we don't know how many more than that come. And it says, who can stand? Who can endure the judgment that's coming? And he goes on and makes his case. He says, ever since your fathers died, we're talking about Old Testament fathers, you've moved away from my statutes and my laws. And not only that, but he goes on in verse 8 through 10, and he says, and you've robbed God. You've withheld your tithes and your offerings. You've held back what is God's anyway. And then he goes on in verse 14, and he says, the people are all saying, what profit is there to serve God? You know, I think a lot of people say that today. Why should I serve God? After all, why should I give my tithe? Why should I be obedient to his statutes? I mean, everybody is saying what is evil is good, and what is good is evil. Everybody is withholding their tithes from God. God doesn't seem to care. They test him, and he seems to not even care. And they seem to get away with it. There doesn't seem to be any justice. Well, that's exactly what they were saying in Malachi's day. But wait, there's another peak. That peak of Jesus' second coming, it says that there will be judgment. As a matter of fact, in verses 16 through 18, here are the key words. Then those who fear the Lord spoke to one another, and the Lord gave attention and heard it. You see, believers are going to talk to each other, and God's going to hear it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for those who fear the Lord, and those who esteem his name. They will be mine, says the Lord of hosts. And on the day that I prepared for my own possession, I will spare them as a man spares his own son who serves him. Now, that's incredible, because he's not going to just save us by the skin of our teeth. And he's not going to just save us treating us like also-rans. It says he's going to save us and reward us like a father spares his own son who is obedient to him and serves him. Listen to verse 18. So you will again distinguish between the righteous and the wicked, and between one who serves God and the one that does not serve him. Yes, there's a day of judgment coming and a day of separation. Oh, what a day it's going to be. It's going to be so incredibly wonderful for those that are believers, and so horribly, horribly tragic for those that don't. Yes, that's your thought for the day. God sees across peaks. He saw Jesus coming with a new covenant of grace. He saw Jesus coming again as a government of justice. And he sees us, those that are faithful to him and serve him, as ones that will be spared like sons who serve the Father. That's your thought for the day. God bless you. Have a great day.